Barry Gibb was born on September 1st, 1946, in Douglas, Isle of Man, into a working-class family. His childhood was defined by constant relocations, from England to Australia, where he would find his true musical calling. From an early age, Barry exhibited a natural aptitude for songwriting and melody. Together with his brothers, Maurice and Robin, Barry began composing songs that showcase their remarkable musical bond. Their shared connection, almost psychic in nature, allowed them to create some of the most iconic music of the 20th century. As the frontman and principal songwriter of the Bee Gees, Barry's contributions would define pop music in the 1970s, particularly during the disco era. His distinct falsetto became synonymous with the group, and he would go on to craft unforgettable songs such as Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, and Night Fever. The Bee Gees rise to fame, crafting an iconic sound. During the 1970s, the Bee Gees achieved worldwide fame, and Barry Gibb was at the helm, both as lead vocalist and the principal architect of their sound. His signature falsetto voice became a hallmark of the disco era, while his songwriting turned into anthems for an entire generation. The Bee Gees' contribution to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack catapulted them to superstardom, with songs like More Than a Woman and How Deep Is Your Love becoming synonymous with the 1970s disco culture. Beyond the disco hits, Barry's songwriting genius extended into other genres, penning hits for artists like Barbra Streisand, Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, and Dionne Warwick. His ability to write songs that were emotionally powerful yet commercially successful cemented his legacy as one of the greatest songwriters of all time. The tragic loss of his brothers, a personal struggle. Despite the Bee Gees' success, Barry Gibb's life has been deeply marked by tragedy. In 1988, Barry lost his younger brother Andy to heart failure. Then in 2003, Maurice passed away suddenly from a twisted intestine. The final blow came in 2012, with the death of his brother Robin after a long battle with cancer. This left Barry as the last surviving Gibb brother. The grief of outliving the brothers with whom he had created so much music was profound, yet Barry continued to honor their legacy by performing and recording new music. His 2016 solo album, In the Now, offered a more introspective side to his artistry, showcasing his ability to channel his grief into music. He often reflects on the joy and sorrow of his journey, keeping the memory of his brothers alive through his music. Barry's musical legacy. Recognition and acclaim. Barry Gibb's contributions to music have not gone unrecognized. In 2002, he was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE, for his services to music. And in 2018, he was knighted by Prince Charles, becoming Sir Barry Gibb. These honors were a testament to Barry's musical influence, but they also reflect the cultural impact of the Bee Gees, who became one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with over 220 million records sold worldwide. Barry was also inducted twice into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, once as a member of the Bee Gees and again as a songwriter. The Bee Gees' songs continue to be celebrated by new generations, with their music being sampled and covered by numerous artists, proving their timeless appeal. A family man, Barry's personal life and devotion to loved ones. Barry Gibb's personal life has been marked by both romantic milestones and his unwavering devotion to his family. His first marriage was to Maureen Bates in 1966 when he was just 19 years old. However, the pressures of fame and personal differences led to their separation in 1970. Though brief, this marriage was an important chapter in Barry's early adulthood. In 1970, Barry met Linda Gray, a former Miss Edinburgh, while on the set of Top of the Pops in London. Their bond was immediate, and they married on Barry's 24th birthday. Together, they raised 5 children, with their eldest son, Stephen Gibb, following in his father's musical footsteps. Barry has embraced his role as a father and grandfather, and his strong familial bonds continue to be a central part of his life. Relocation and a new chapter in the U.S. In 1974, at the height of the Bee Gees' fame, Barry Gibb relocated to the United States, where he would spend most of his life. Although he and Linda became naturalized U.S. citizens in 2009, they chose to retain their British citizenship, embracing both their American and British identities. In 2006, Barry purchased the former home of country music legends Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash in Hendersonville, Tennessee, with plans to transform it into a creative retreat. Sadly, the house was destroyed in a fire during renovations in 2007, ending Barry's vision for the property. Despite the setback, Barry rebuilt a new home on the site, and in 2014, he and his family sold the property, closing that chapter with grace and fond memories. The Beatles and John Lennon. A unique connection, Barry Gibb's career has intersected with numerous legendary figures, but none more famously than with the Beatles, particularly John Lennon. For years, music fans and historians speculated about the true nature of the relationship between the Bee Gees and the Beatles. Both groups were part of the cultural revolution of the 1960s and 1970s. Yet their paths rarely crossed in public. Barry Gibb has remained relatively silent on the topic for many years, but now, at 78, he has chosen to reflect on his thoughts about John Lennon. Barry revealed that he first encountered Lennon during a music industry party in London in the late 1960s. He remembered Lennon's magnetic aura and how the Beatles' frontman, though known for his sharp wit, possessed a surprising warmth and tenderness when speaking privately. Early admiration for Lennon, a symbol of artistic freedom. Barry's admiration for John Lennon started long before they met. As a teenager in the 1960s, Barry, along with his brothers, was deeply influenced by the Beatles' music. He recalled the electrifying feeling of hearing "Please Please Me" and "She Loves You" for the first time. For Barry, Lennon was more than just a rock star. He was a symbol of artistic freedom and social change. Despite their fame, the Bee Gees were initially in awe of the Beatles. Barry often reflected on how he felt nervous and starstruck during their first encounter. However, Lennon's piercing intellect and disarming humor left a lasting impression on him, and Barry was deeply touched by a compliment Lennon gave the Bee Gees about their vocal blend. The complicated dynamic, respect and dissonance. As the Bee Gees' fame grew in the 1970s, Barry often wondered what Lennon really thought of their transformation into the disco era. While some critics dismissed disco as a passing trend, Barry suspected that Lennon, a fellow innovator, respected their ability to evolve and experiment with new sounds. However, Lennon's public remarks about the Bee Gees were sometimes dismissive, and Barry admitted that those comments stung at the time. With the benefit of time and maturity, Barry now recognizes that Lennon often used sarcasm and irony as a defense mechanism to protect himself from the pressures of fame. Barry acknowledged that Lennon had his own struggles and demons, and he expressed empathy for Lennon's battles with identity and personal pain. The loss of Lennon, grief and reflection. The most poignant moment Barry Gibb shared regarding John Lennon was his reaction to the news of Lennon's tragic death in December 1980. Barry recalled being in a studio in Miami when the news broke. It felt as though the world had stopped, and for Barry, Lennon's death was the loss of a cultural titan. He wasn't just grieving the death of a peer, he was mourning the loss of a voice that had given meaning to an entire generation. Barry admitted that he cried that night, feeling the weight of Lennon's impact on the world and on music. For Barry, Lennon's death was a turning point, a moment that changed the course of history and left an undeniable void, a final tribute honoring Lennon's legacy. Barry Gibb's reflections on John Lennon offer a rare glimpse into the personal reverence he has for the late Beatles legend. At 78, Barry no longer feels the need to hide behind the polite distance that often characterizes celebrity recollections. He now speaks of Lennon as a flawed, brilliant, and deeply human figure who challenged the world to think, feel, and question more. Barry admitted that Lennon's honesty and willingness to push boundaries influenced him to rethink his own approach to music. After conversing with Lennon, Barry stopped trying to please everyone and began to create music that was true to himself. In finally sharing these insights, Barry has not only paid tribute to Lennon, but has also offered a deeper understanding of the unique bond between two of music's greatest minds.